How is it going, everyone? It's K-Lumit here, and today we are going to be talking about LEGO Star Wars, the very first LEGO Star Wars video game on the PS2. Now, this is a game that I am very familiar with because I grew up playing this game so much. I played this game a ton with my brother growing up, and I was pretty excited to dive back into it and play it again for the channel, and just to play it for the memory's sake, because I had so many good memories with this game. And I'm glad to say that this game is still amazing, and I absolutely love this game. In fact, this LEGO Star Wars game is actually my favorite. And it's my favorite for a really simple reason, honestly. The reason I like it so much is because of the hub world. This game takes place in the prequels of Star Wars, so it's episodes 1, 2, and 3. So the area they use as the hub world is Dexter's Diner. And I absolutely love Dexter's Diner. It's something that I always wish they would have made a Lego set out of, because I loved Dexter's Diner so much in the movie, and I always wanted to have an actual Lego set of it, and I don't think they ever made one, but I always wanted one. I always wanted a Lego minifigure of, Dexter. I just thought that would have been so cool back in the day. I still think it would be cool, honestly, if they did it today, even, if they released some sort of Dexter's Diner set based off of this. If they did that, I would 100% go out and buy it because, nostalgia is one heck of a thing, I think there's a lot of people, honestly, that would probably go out and buy it if they saw that sort of set pop up. But I love Dexter's Diner. It's great, and it just gives such a great mood for the rest of the areas in the game, for the rest of the missions, for the rest of the episodes that you go throughout LEGO Star Wars. You go through episodes 1, 2, and 3, and if you've played any LEGO game before, you kind of know what to expect, but I'll talk about, just in case for anyone who may have not played the older ones, because I know that the newer ones have changed quite a bit, but the older ones were mainly kind of like platforming puzzle games with some, I guess you'd call it hack and slash kind of fun with it. You would run around with your lightsabers and take down enemies. Some enemies you could force push. You could also play as, characters that have blasters, like, in this version in this game specifically, you can play as clone troopers. You can play as Naboo guards and stuff like that. And depending on what character you're playing as, you have special roles and special abilities that only those characters can do. Obviously, Jedi are the only characters that can use the Force. Well, and Sith, of course. But they're the only ones that can use the Force and actually move things around and put them where they need to be. But you also have the people that carry blasters, and they can get up to places by using their blaster as a grappling hook, and they get to places that you normally wouldn't be able to reach. You have droids, and the droids... not the actual, separatist droids, but the actual, astromech droids and the, kind of like this, basically C-3PO. I can't remember the name of what you would call them off the top of my head, but basically you have those droids, and while they can't do combat, they can unlock doors that only those specific droids can. So, protocol droids, that's what it is. That's what C-3PO is. It took me a minute, sorry about that, but if you play as astromech droid or a protocol droid, you have doors that only those characters can unlock. And the cool thing about this too is that as you go through the missions, you're going to notice that you're going to have to replay a lot of these missions, and that just gives you more stuff to play through and just kind of sink more time into this game, because there's areas that you will not be able to get to unless you have some of those certain characters, and not every level has those when you play through the story mode for the first time. So you have to go back into those levels under free play, and it will give you the required characters that you need automatically for that level. If, of course, you've purchased those characters from Dexter's Diner. You've gone there, you've earned the studs, and you've gone and purchased the characters. But if you do that, it will automatically give you every character you need to go get every collectible in the level. And I think that's awesome, and I'm glad that they do that. The AI in this game is also really good, because there's a lot of co-op areas in this where two players need to do the same thing. However, the AI is really good at going and helping you do whatever you need to do. If there's a button you need to stand on, as soon as you stand on it, the AI will go stand on the other button that needs to stood on. So I think that's actually really cool that the AI is that well done for how old this game is, and I think that's pretty cool. The actual level design is always fantastic. I love the level design in this game. I love the boss fights as well. You play through all of the missions, and then at the end of each one of these episodes, you have a boss fight. So the first one, you have Darth Maul, of course. The second one, you actually have the second one, you have Count Dooku. And then episode 3, you actually have something really cool. You have Anakin versus Obi-Wan, but they're the only two characters on the actual level. So if you are playing co-op with that, it actually makes you fight with whoever you're playing with, which I always thought was really cool. And that's just, one of those gimmicks that I always just thought was really neat. I've never seen a video game make the co-op players actually fight each other like that, so I just always thought that was a really neat thing. But I love the level design. It's great. The platforming's great. The puzzles are easy, but they're still fun. And overall, I really just enjoy this game. And the nice thing about this game, too, is that if you want to 100% complete it, it's not really super difficult, because you can save up your studs and you can use them to get extras, is what they're called, and you can go get extras from Dexter's Diner. And if you get these extras, they will allow you to have basically some, I guess you could call them cheat codes in a way, but they will give you hints of things you need to do. For example, there is one extra thing that you can buy that will tell you where all the mini kits are. And you want those mini kits because they will basically build a little ship that will be on display at Dexter's Diner. So if you find all the mini kits in the level, you get a new ship that's on display at Dexter's Diner. And I think that's really cool. And if you have those extras like the mini kit detector, that can help you quite a bit. There's also invincibility, which takes a lot more currency to actually get. But if you get that, that's obviously going to help you quite a bit. There's also something called the Jedi Power Bar, and if you fill the Jedi Power Bar in a level, and what you do, how you fill that is by collecting studs, collecting the currency in this game. When you collect enough of that, it will fill the Jedi Power Bar, and when you fill that, you will have a complete bar, and it will go towards basically like a mega kit. And if you finish every level and get that Jedi Power bar full, at the very end of the game, if you get every single level complete, you will unlock Episode 4. You will unlock a special episode for Episode 4. It's just a kind of really a teaser for the next game, but it's still cool that they even put it. I believe it's the Tantive 4. They put the Tantive 4 in this game as kind of like a little extra for you to do if you get all of the Jedi Power bars, and I always thought that was really cool. Before I continue gushing about how good this game is, I will say the one negative that I can think of for this game. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of negatives, but this would probably be the one thing that I would consider a negative. And it's something that's pretty common with a lot of these platforming / collectathon games that came out back on the PS2. Sometimes the double jump will not always work. You will jump, and then you'll press the double jump again, and for some reason it just doesn't take the input, and you just fall straight down. That is a weird common problem that happened with a lot of PS2 games. I remember it happening in Crash Bandicoot games quite a bit. So it is a problem in this game too, and I figured I should bring it up because it is the one negative. If there was any other negatives, and I feel like I would be kind of nitpicking if I poke out this game too much, but the only other thing I could say that could be a negative is that the vehicle levels in this game, the controls could feel a little bit tighter. But that's kind of a nitpick. Now, that being said, I actually love the vehicle levels in this game. I love all the levels in this game. Running around and collecting stuff just as the minifigures themselves is pretty fun, and collecting all the mini kits, getting all the studs to fill your Jedi Power Bar, and saving all the studs to go buy more characters. All that stuff is really fun. However, the actual vehicle missions are also really fun. I love the pod racing level. That has always been one of my favorite levels ever since I was a kid. I always loved the pod racing level. There's basically this game has a lot of on rails vehicle levels, which the other LEGO Star Wars games don't have, and I really like those on rails levels. I think they're a lot of fun, and it's something that I kind of missed in the future installments. But I think one of the best examples of the on rails kind of like vehicle shooter levels is actually Episode 3, the beginning sequence to Episode 3, where you have Obi-Wan and Anakin in space, and they're dogfighting all the other droid ships coming in, and they're trying to land on General Grievous's ship and everything. Like, that fight sequence is obviously good in the movie, but in the video game, they did such a great job of just giving you this epic on-rail shooter intro to Episode 3. It is awesome, and it's one of the best levels in the game. I absolutely love it. I guess there is one other thing I could consider a negative in this game, and that is the fact that Episode 1, very well done. Episode 3, very well done. Episode 2 feels like they cut out quite a bit. And I did think that was a little bit weird. And I will say, when the complete saga came out, they did kind of fix it a little bit, and they added another level to kind of make it feel more complete. But in this version of the game, it does feel a little bit rushed. So that is something I should probably bring up. That is another negative. But overall, I still think that this game is worth playing. Honestly, even if you have the complete saga, I still think that this version is worth picking up and playing because you get the original versions of these areas, the original version of these levels, the original hub world of Dexter's Diner. You get all these things that you don't get in the complete saga. So I definitely think it's still worth playing the original Lego Star Wars video game, even to this day. If you can find this game, definitely pick it up and play it. It's not very expensive, and it's definitely worth having in your collection, especially if you are a fan of Lego games. And one of the things that I also want to point out in this game that I really love, and I think it just helps the comedic effect of this game, because obviously these LEGO games, they're always kind of funny. The cutscenes, they're based off Star Wars, but they have their own kind of charismatic, jokes in them and everything like that. They basically turn them into basically parodies, and they do a really good job of doing that. But I think why the early LEGO Star Wars games were so fun also was partly because the Lego figures didn't talk. There's no voice acting throughout the entire game other than like characters yelling and stuff. And that's basically it. And I kind of wish that they would have stayed with that idea of the Lego minifigures not being able to talk with every Lego game. But unfortunately, they did eventually change that, and the Lego minifigures now talk. But man, back in the day, I just thought that the silent minifigures, it made them be more creative with the cutscenes and stuff like that. They had to be more creative. They had to do their own thing. And they did such a great job with just making funny cutscenes. But nowadays, I feel like the cutscenes aren't nearly as impactful. They're not nearly as funny or anything, because they just are using the same lines that you see from a lot of the movies. And that, to me, that's just not as fun. There's just a lot more creativity in making the minifigures stay silent and having to figure out how to get the story across with these silent toys. I just thought that was always such a better idea and such a cooler thing. But yeah, they changed that in the future games. So this game at least still had the silent characters. So that is definitely a positive for me. Something I love about the early LEGO Star Wars games too is just how much they focused on co-op play, which is a huge deal, when you're a kid and you're playing these games and you have drop-in and drop-out co-op. That is such an awesome thing. The fact that someone can just pick up, another controller, press start, and you're immediately playing in the game with your friend, that's such an awesome thing. And you don't see a whole lot of co-op games these days. You don't see that couch co-op element. And it's just cool to see that in this game still, because it was just such a big thing back when I was a kid to have couch co-op constantly. And it's something that's kind of going by the wayside a little bit. So it's nice to see that, and it still works very well, and I love the idea of it. And even if you don't have someone playing co-op with you, like I said, the AI is good enough where it can put the pieces together and still help you throughout the level, which is really nice. Some of the levels, I do want to talk about a couple of the levels real quick, just some of my favorites. I think one of my favorite levels, just off the top of my head, would probably be Episode 1, and it's the second level. It's the Gungan level, where you are on Naboo and the invasion of Naboo is happening and you first meet Jar Jar. I love that level design. I've always been had a nostalgic spot for that level because of all the Gungan statues and seeing this kind of like the ruins of Naboo and helping Jar Jar through the level. I've always loved that level, so that's one that I wanted to bring up just because it's so much fun and I love playing through it. And then probably the other one that I would bring up is I like it. The Kashyyyk. I like the Kashyyyk level in Episode 3 where you play as Yoda and Chewbacca. I like that one especially because I love how the Emperor does Order 66 in that one, because obviously they can't talk, so they can't say Order 66. So the Emperor has to basically use sign language to get Order 66 across, which is pretty funny. And overall, the level design is actually just really good and really fun. And it's pretty chaotic, too. It's one of the longer levels, I believe. So that's just a level that I have a lot of fond memories of. And I just kind of want to talk about those couple levels. But every level in this game has something special about it. Every level feels great, and I love it. Oh, also Kamino in Episode 2. I do love Kamino in Episode 2. Seeing Jango Fett for the first time, and, seeing the Lego clones for the first time. All that stuff is always great, and I just love seeing it, Lego Star Wars, the original Lego Star Wars game, is such a fun time. It's a game that everyone who is a fan of Star Wars should play at some point. It's a game that every fan of Lego games should play at some point. I feel like this is basically like the granddaddy of all movie Lego games. This is one of the first ones, if not the very first movie tie-in Lego game. And it's such a good one. It's such a good one, and it's definitely something that you should check out if you have not played it before, or if you've only played the newer versions of it. The complete series, the complete saga is great. I like the complete saga, don't get me wrong. But there's just something charming about this first one. Dexter's Diner, the original level design without the red power bricks and all that stuff, because this one didn't even have red power bricks back in the day. There's just something charming about the original level design that I think is still worth going back and playing to this day. So go check out the original LEGO Star Wars and go play it. Go add it to your collection. It's 100% worth it. And I will talk to you in the next video. Let me know down below which LEGO Star Wars game is your favorite. I have played a decent amount of them. I've played LEGO Star Wars 1. I played, obviously, the original series as well. I played the complete saga. I played The Force Awakens, which the Force Awakens LEGO game is terrible. I don't want to talk about that one. But the only ones I haven't played is the Skywalker Saga, just because I saw the way it looks, and I'm not a huge fan of the way it looks. I'll get to it eventually, I will, but I just don't like the way it looks. And I also have not played LEGO Star Wars 3, which is the Clone Wars. I have not played that one. I do own it now. I actually just picked it up at the time of recording this video, but I have not played it yet. So I will get to that eventually, but before I get to it, I have to play some of the other LEGO Star Wars games first. I want to play these suckers in the order they came out, so I'm going to try to do that. So go check out LEGO Star Wars. I'll talk to you in the next one. Let me know which one's your favorite. Bye-bye.